One word to describe Mr. Wolf is hardworking.
Energetic.
Transparent.
Smart.
Bold.
Quirky.
Intelligent. Positive. Kind. Equal.
Kind.
Passionate.
And now,
Your interview.
with Scott Wolf.
My name is Scott Wolf. I'm the principal here at North High School. This is my 9th year at North and my 7th year as the principal. What was I like in high school? I tried to work really hard so that I could get the best grades that I could. I had a close friend group, not a ton of friends, but like enough for me to feel connected. I played soccer and was on the soccer team. I played basketball as a 9th grader, but then I didn't really grow past how tall I am right now. And the starting point guard for our basketball team, he ended up playing for the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Jets in the NFL. So let's just say he was a little bit better of an athlete than I was. I still remember the time where I got super frustrated with one of my friends at lunchtime, and I just couldn't contain it anymore, and I went after him, and we had a fun little tussle. So don't let that be you. And so we all have things that have happened that we wish wouldn't have happened. That's one of those things for me. So I share that with you because we are all human, and we all have things that we can work to improve on. That's a great question. So interestingly enough, we're down here in the basement of North High School that was built in 1911, and my high school that was in Spokane, Washington was also built in 1911. And as when I think about my experience in high school, I thought it was really important that students had the opportunity to be themselves, that they had really supportive staff members, and that ultimately we were trying to understand what individuals' hopes and dreams were. So I try to bring that in here, try to have a fun element to make sure that we have things like our homecoming, our pep rally, but then also that we're academically and with our skill building challenging students so that they can be their best selves. I think my favorite part is the sense of family. That's something that I hear all the time from people, and it's kind of this organic creation of connection that lives amongst family members, students, staff. And it's more than a school. It's like a family. Yeah, I've learned so many things. I've learned that it's really hard to be a principal because there's a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different ideas about things. And I have to balance how do I take care of each individual and how do I take care of the collective. And so I think that I've learned that I have to listen and I have to listen again and I have to try to understand all perspectives and make the best decision that I can. And it's not always going to make everybody happy, and I can't be in the business of making everybody have exactly their needs met, but I have to try to think about how do I meet as many needs as possible to get us to where we need to as a collective community. So I love to spend time with my family. I have 2 daughters and my wife, and we like to play games with each other. We like to just be outside and just to be with one another. I also like to read about the airline industry. I think that the operations and organization of such a complex industry is really fascinating to me. So I read a lot about how airlines and airline operations work. It's really interesting. So I think back to when I was in high school, and I had some affinity to my principal at the time. And I remember a moment, actually not in high school, but in elementary school, where I was in 6th grade, and we got a new principal in 6th grade, and I was the student council president. And I remember thinking well, I know more than this person does because I've been at the school longer. So I was very involved in that way. So I think I always had tendencies towards thinking about school leadership. I actually went to college to be an engineer, and we talked a lot about designing, and I wasn't super interested in all the math problem sets. And so I tried to think about how can I get into something where I'm designing but with not just for a physical object, but potentially for a learning environment. So then I changed into the School of Education, where I went to college at Northwestern, and I just fell in love with trying to support students with learning and with outcomes. And so as a part of that, I became a teacher, and I realized that in order to have really effective teachers, we need to really have really effective leaders. And so from that point, I was like, yes, I think I'm going to be a school leader. And I initially thought I would be an elementary principal because I started as a second grade teacher. But then as I worked up through all the different levels, I recognized that there's a connection that I have with high school students and their development into being adults that I just really appreciated. And so that's why I'm here as a high school principal at North High School. I'd probably have to do something in the airline industry and like coordinate flight routes and maximizing airline operations to get people from one place to the next, because people are either traveling to see loved ones or they're trying to get to make a connection for work, and it's really important that we are able to be connected in real life, right? Like right now, we can be connected in a virtual space, but I think there's something really powerful when we're connected in that physical space. And so I'm really thankful that we're able to have school in person again to make those connections. While I know that it's been challenging for some students to rebuild the skill of being back together and how do you live in community, I am just so thankful that we get to do that.
What is
You know, it's funny because the evening that we're recording this, we have a playoff soccer game. And a couple years ago, we were not able to have our coaches present for our first playoff soccer game. And so Mr. Gonzalez, who's one of our awesome deans, and I stepped in to coach the playoff soccer game. Thankfully, we ended up winning, and that was like a huge relief, but we didn't really know the players really that great. Both Mr. Gonzalez and I played soccer, as I said before, but that is a memory because you don't really just get to do that, right? I think similarly on that note is one time I was supervising a C-level baseball game and the umpire didn't show up. And so I said, well, I guess I'm going to be the umpire so that the kids can still play. And so then I was the umpire for a game. And, you know, I like sports, but like I'm not a trained umpire. So those are moments where you just kind of get to be with people and bring them together.